Hey, what's good? Avry here from Avry Sports Show. I do some good news and bad news on the last episode of the podcast. The good news, Lana was a blast on my show and you will laugh. The bad news, the final 10 minutes of the show were lost due to audio distortion. Yikes. But you know what? Hey, sometimes tech issues beyond our control do happen. Thankfully, most of the interview is here, so please enjoy. Welcome back to Avry Sports Show, the most fun podcast in the world, and I want to welcome a guest. She's, well, how would I say it? One of the leaders in sports Twitter. She once freaked out Johnny Manziel on ESPN during his pro day, and she's a card-carrying member, actually the founder of the Pau Gasol and Bartolo Colon fan clubs. She is Lana, the host of the Lana Show, and follow her on Twitter at Lana. Lana, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Lana, not Lana, or did I mess that up too as well?
It's Lana.
Lana, oh gee, see, it's funny because people mess your name up, and people mess up my name as well. I'm Avry on Twitter, at Avry, and people always call me Avry, which makes no sense to me.
That makes no sense.
I don't get it, yeah, it's Avry. Just because there's no E in my name, it's still Avry. I never understood that.
Avry.
Yeah, no, I don't get that either. I wanted to have you on because I followed you since about 2012, and I saw your Twitter, I thought, wow, she's really funny, and I gotta ask you, what was the impetus for your Twitter profile? Like, what made you think, wow, I can really be something on sports Twitter?
I really didn't. It just kind of happened that way. I don't know. I've been on Twitter for a really long time, and I really wasn't involved in sports Twitter until probably like late 2011, early 2012. And a friend of mine who's a big baseball fan was like, oh, you need to follow all these baseball people on Twitter. They're really funny. And it was just like a bunch of bloggers and just Twitter people. And so I kind of got involved that way. And then I just really got into it. And I worked from home and I was just spending a lot of time on Twitter. And I just kind of met more and more people through it. And it just kind of happened that way, I guess.
I know you tweet often. You tweet literally about, some people tweet about baseball or just basketball or just football, but you tweet about literally everything, and that's what I think is cool about you. You have a take on anything, be it Chris Berman doing the dab, be it Tom Brady, be it baseball. I know you're a Texas Rangers fan, so I mean, being a big baseball fan, that's been tough to see Rangers fall to my Toronto Blue Jays. Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. Although, I mean, to be fair, I really did not expect to even win a game in that series. So, I mean, it sucked the way it happened, but, it's not like I went into it thinking there was going to be a different outcome.
Because that was a series I didn't think would go the distance in my mind, the way that this series started off, with Texas being up 2-0 early.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they weren't the better team, and they kind of got some breaks in the first couple of games, and then it just kind of went downhill really, really fast. I don't know, it was just, I mean, I hate to say this, but I just kind of expect that from my team, because that's kind of what's happened.
And then, of course, Game 5, was that one of the most odd games in baseball history, considering the fact that the 7th inning lasted almost 5 days?
Yeah, it was super weird. It was just like that one inning that lasted like an hour, where just pretty much everything that was bizarre that could happen, happened. It was so weird, and I thought it was really, really funny at the time, and I still think it was really funny, just like that whole series of plays that like Toronto messed up. And I remember people were like getting on me after the game, like, oh, do you still think it's funny? I was like, yeah, I do, because it was a really weird thing. And I mean, if anyone knows me, they know that, like, more than anything, I just love super weird stuff happening in sports.
That's true.
Even when it happens, even when my team loses, like, I still really, really enjoy it. So it was super weird. I loved it. I still love it. And it was a disaster, but that's what happens.
But how great is baseball in the fact that on a play that in which the runner on third came home to score, where Russell Martin's throw went off Shin-Chu's bat in Game 5, and a run still counts. Could you imagine that in football or basketball, where a play is blown dead and a player can still go to the basket and score?
I mean, it was just kind of a really weird series of events that was so, I don't know, it was just super weird, and I still don't totally understand what happened. And I was mostly confused that Harold Reynolds, of all people, knew what was happening, and they're like, oh yeah, this is what's going on, and this is why it counts. I'm like, this is, like, really, Harold? This is the first thing, like, in the history of you broadcasting that you actually know about, that, like, no one else knows about?
I don't mind the guy. I have no beef with Harold Reynolds, but it's just, there were simple things that Harold Reynolds would get wrong, because what was baffling to me was, he said that David Price never pitched well at Rogers Center. To me, that was like, really?
Right.
He's only lost one time at that building. How has he not pitched well in Toronto?
This is my main issue with Harold, is that he doesn't, if he does actual prep work for his job, it doesn't show. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, and he's just kind of saying whatever comes to mind, and it's usually wrong. And my issue with that isn't, like us watching and be like, oh my god, like, this is really annoying. It's that the majority of people don't know that he's wrong. And so he's like it's like, this is where all these internet commenters and stuff like that get all of their crap from. It's like people like Harold who are spouting stuff that he should be a trusted, broadcaster, and you should be taking what he says as truth, but he's not saying anything that's remotely true, and so people are getting all of these, like, falsehoods from him, and that's what really bothers me.
No, I definitely agree with you on that, Lana, and doubling down on that, in the comments where he said that Canadians can't catch, to me, I knew it was a joke, I knew it was trying to be funny, but it came across as really ignorant, unfortunately, for his part.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've produced, oh gosh, how many Gold Glovers, and it was kind of funny because the next day he went on Fox to apologize over basically offending an entire country, which I thought was hilarious. No, but that series was great. I know these playoffs were wonderful, and one guy I mentioned in the intro who you've been a big fan of for forever and ever is Bartolo Colon. How great was he? How great was his season in general with the Mets, being a 42-year-old guy and having one of the best years of his career in New York?
It was awesome to watch, and of course it's great watching him on a team where he bats, and that's obviously very important to the whole Bartolo Colon experience. But it's great to, like, not only be able to enjoy that, but, like, he actually pitched really, really well.
He did.
And he's an incredibly fascinating person to me, and I love hearing stories from people who have been around him, because every story I've heard has just been, like, the best, and he's apparently the best, and I hope he keeps pitching until he's, like, 60. He
could do it. Any guy in the league who might try it could be him.
I think it would be him, yeah.
Would you ever try getting him on your podcast one day, Lana?
I've thought about it just because I think people would enjoy it, but he doesn't speak English very well, and I don't know that would translate well to an audio show. So his English isn't great, and, like, I just don't know that it would, I would definitely try it if he would agree to do it. I just don't know if it would, like, sound good, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Because I think it'd be funny, one of the big themes with your Bartolo fascination is touching his belly. I think it'd be great to have him in studio so you can just pet his belly one day and see if there's just muscle under there.
All I need is, like, a 5-second video of me poking him in the stomach, and then he can leave. Like, that's all I want.
That'd be great. Now, speaking of this World Series with the Mets and the Royals, how anticlimactic was that World Series considering how the rest of the playoffs were? I really wanted the Mets to come back and have a 7-game series. That was like a giant fart in my mind with them going down to the Royals.
It was really boring, and it was really surprisingly boring because the Mets had played so well, and I thought the Cubs were going to be the team to beat actually in the playoffs, just the way they'd been playing towards the end there, and then the Mets kind of steamrolled over them, and I was like, oh, okay, that was really weird, and then they got steamrolled over by the Royals, and I was like, oh, this is just really, really anticlimactic. And I was expecting more. I'm not upset that the Royals won. I actually was rooting for them, but it's just, I wanted more of a fight, I guess, out of it.
Of course. And you know what? The Royals, they deserve that. You had Eric Hosmer playing well, Lorenzo Cain, the pitching was great, but to me it's just, I'm 22 years old, Lana. I've never seen the Royals be anything beyond comically awful, so I'm kind of baffled. Like, what should I do? The Royals won the World Series. How should I react?
Honestly, it was kind of like that for pretty much any of the teams that were left in the playoffs. It's just, there's the Mets, the Cubs, it's like I'm still wrapping my head around them being, all of these teams being good.
Yeah.
And it's cool thing though for me is I have a few friends who are from Kansas City, and so getting to see them after me making fun of them for a very long time, mind you, like their team comes and wins the World Series before mine does.
That's right, yeah, Texas, you guys have never won it. The closest you come was 2011. And will I get yelled at for mentioning the 2011 World Series, Lana?
No.
I was cheering for you guys. I was in a bar with some buddies of mine. We were thinking, oh great, Texas is going to win their first World Series. But nope, David Freese said nah to you guys.
It was just a series of nah from the Cardinals and from our own pitchers and from Nelson Cruz. And it was just, like, I just can't even imagine a worse series of events happening in a game ever. For anybody.
It was like Cardinals, what do you call it? The Cardinals voodoo magic that struck again and has been working in baseball for the past 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's the Cardinals devil magic thing. I started tweeting it. I think I started it in 2012, but it's definitely lasted longer. But it's just that weird thing where the Cardinals managed to have they're a great organization, and the Cardinals devil magic thing doesn't take anything away from that, but they have a bunch of weird shit that happens to them that makes them win games, and I don't want anybody to deny that, because it's true.
No, it has, and I went on their bandwagon back in 2013 because I have a buddy of mine who used to play for them, Joe Kelly. Watching them play in the World Series in 2013, I wanted to puke, knowing that I had a friend playing for St. Louis and they lost that game. I was ill during Game 6 when they lost to Boston.
Oh, man.
And I'm a bandwagoner. I was a Jays fan, but it was interesting seeing how they're the model franchise, and with them being the model franchise, everybody outside St. Louis hates their guts.
Yeah, it is a weird thing, because it's even hard to even really fully explain why everyone hates them so much, because they actually are such a well-run organization, and I really admire the organization in and of itself, and the fact that they managed to take all these, like, essentially homegrown players and, transform these kind of guys who shouldn't be doing that great into superstars, and like Matt Carpenter. It's like, it's just interesting to me, but at the same time, I think Cardinals fans have had an unfair thing, because they've been called, like, the best fans in baseball, and, like, that whole thing kind of spiraled out of control, and it's just, I think the problem is they keep winning. I think that's the biggest reason people hate them. Too good.
It's funny now, in the sports world, people hate winners. Eventually, they'll be bashing the Warriors pretty soon in the NBA. It's weird how in the sports world, we now hate dynasties. We hate teams that are infinitely good for some reason.
It's because we're all very sad people.
Yes.
We're very bitter, and we're very angry. We're, as a group, sports fans are.
Sure, the only team that we should really hate is the Yankees. That's the only team that we should all universally hate, in my mind.
Yeah, this season has been kind of weird for me, because I've always really hated the Yankees, and, like, they've been so bad. I'm still kind of surprised they even, like, made it to the wild card game this year, but, like, in the last few years, they've been really, really bad, and so hating them has kind of, like, them being bad makes me hating them, like, it doesn't fuel it as much, and I don't like it. And this year, like, I got really into A-Rod, and I used to hate A-Rod, and now I'm, like, fully on Team A-Rod, but, like, still hate the Yankees, so it's like I wanted him to do really well, but, like, in a losing effort for the Yankees. Like, him hit 10 home runs, but the Yankees still lose. Like, that's all I wanted from this year. But like, I need them to start, I need them to pick it up a little bit, and I need them to, like, overpay some new players so I can, like, regenerate my hatred.
I've heard Robinson Cano wants to go back to New York, so there you go. Robinson Cano reunion back with the Yankees. There's some hate again.
That's good.
There we go. Our last baseball point before we move on to other things, Lana, I do want to ask, in the past few years, position players have been pitching a lot. I don't know what it is. It's been happening often. And Cliff Pennington made his pitching debut in the playoffs, the first ever position guy to pitch in the playoffs. How many seasons will it take before we see a position player pitching in the World Series?
I almost thought it was going to happen this year. Like, it's just been such a weird, there's been so much of it, and then we got playoff position player pitching, and I got greedy, and I thought there was a chance that we would get it in the World Series, and I had my fingers crossed. I feel like it could happen any year. It just depends on the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And a team would have to just be losing horrifically. I don't know. Maybe even then. I don't know. It's just, I mean, I'm trying to think of a scenario where we'd get position player pitching in the World Series, and it's really, really hard to say, but I feel like we'll get it someday. I feel like we're getting closer to that day.
Maybe a World Series game goes 22 innings, they exhaust the bullpens, and you have two position players on the mound going at it.
Ooh, I would really enjoy that. That would be the best.
Oh, absolutely. I know. I do want to go from baseball to football. And Lana, unfortunately, well, your Dallas Cowboys, I don't know where to begin. I know they're your team. And this year's been interesting. Be it locker room issues, be it Greg Hardy, be it this team not being very good. What are your expectations for this team to end the year? Do they win a few more games? Do they shoot Greg Hardy out of a cannon into the moon? Like, how does this year end for the Cowboys?
I would love to see Greg Hardy shot out of a cannon. I'm fully on board with that. Basically, I've given up all hope for this season. So if they continue to win games for the rest of the season, then great. I mean, the really, really sad thing about the NFC East is the Cowboys they were 2-7. They just won a game, so they're 3-7
right
now, and they could still potentially make the playoffs.
Which is incredible.
Like, if they keep winning, it's incredible. Like, it's just, the division's so bad. And I'm not really, like, putting all my eggs in that basket. Like, I don't think they're going to win against Carolina this week, but hey, I mean, weirder things have happened, I guess. I mean, because Romo was out, he came back and they won, that's great. Dez was out, he's back. It's just, this team exhausts me. I can't stand Jerry Jones, I can't stand Greg Hardy, I can't stand Jason Garrett.